Hi everybody, it's Mark from Burton Bibles, back with another video in our A to Z series, and today we've reached the letter O, and today's letter O I want to look at the subject of opacity, the opaqueness of paper in short. Quite important with Bibles because basically the Bible is printed on, because it's got a lot of words and it's got a lot of text, it's printed on very thin paper, and also you need to maintain a certain size and slimness with the Bible, and maintain clear readability as well. So the opaqueness of the paper, that is the ability of the paper to withstand light passing through it, is quite important because you've got thin paper, lots of text on either side of the page, and as we saw with line matching makes a big difference to the readability of the edition, because obviously the paper is very thin. So the more that you can line the text on top of each other, the better to maintain clarity. I thought what we'd do is just look at a few Bibles from the Cambridge range just to see how this opacity issue varies throughout the Cambridge range. So I've got basically pretty much all of the Cambridge range here. In fact, I think I've got all of the Cambridge KJV range. And what we're going to do is we've got this little scientific way of determining opacity, and I'm going to put this card underneath each page and see what results are rendered. Let's start perhaps at the bottom of the scale, if you like. Let's have a look at this, the Personal Concord. So the Personal Concord is one of Cambridge's cheaper Bibles. You can get it from about 30 quid. With the imitation leather. This is French Morocco with a thumb index. It's printed on Bible paper, and it's printed in Belarus by Print Corp, I believe. Yeah. So it's worth just noting that this is a cheaper Bible, printed on Bible paper, which is slightly thicker than India paper, and as a result, it doesn't fare too bad in the opacity stakes. I mean, you can see from the text on the page that this is a reasonably opaque edition, but when we pass our little guide under, you can see that it's not troubled too much really by anything shining through. You can just see on the darker text there, which is a black Sharpie, you can see that moving beneath the paper. So it just goes to show you that not always you have to spend a lot of money, although I will say that as a general rule, as we go through this, the better paper has a better opacity. But this little Bible is very good. This Bible I've also marked just to show how opaque this volume is. I've marked it there. I've used a highlighter in here, and I've underlined with Pigma microns, and none of it comes through the page. So it's pretty good for opacity. So if you're looking for a small hand-sized Bible that you can mark and that's opaque, that would be a good one to look at. The Cameo also performs reasonably well. This is the Cameo bound in imitation leather, but the same paper is used even in the goatskin edition, and you can see already that we're only getting mild ghosting through, but it is a line matched Bible as well, which helps no end. But if we offer it our little test, you'll see that it performs pretty good. You can just make out that ridiculously dark, thick black Sharpie coming through. I wanted it to be as clear as possible, you see, if it was coming through, but you can't really detect much, if any, of the 0.5mm sort of rollerball that I've used there. The Pit Minion similarly isn't too bad, although I will say that it is printed on much thinner paper, on an India style paper, and as a result you can probably see that the opaqueness of this paper isn't great. But it is a digital font with line matching, so it's still pretty readable, but obviously you do pay a price for trying to get a volume so slim, and it does appear to have affected opacity. Let's have a look at a text-only edition. This is the Emerald text, again a very reasonable Bible price-wise, but let's just see if that's impacted on the opacity of the paper, and you can see that it's not performing too badly at all. So that's another one to perhaps look at. You can see from the page that it's reasonably opaque. So that makes for this text-only reading experience quite pleasant. Nice clear text on that one. And similarly, if we go to the large print text-only edition, you can see from these pages that that it's a reasonably opaque paper that is used. This is printed on, I think it's Bible paper they call this one, so it's slightly thicker, and as a result we are getting pretty good performance on the old opacity check there. So that's pretty impressive as well. That can be had from like £25–30 in a hardback form. So that's pretty impressive. Let's go to the Clarion, because the Clarion has been selling like hotcakes. People very fond of this single column paragraph format Bible. So if we look at it, it is line matched. It's a nice clear digital font again, unlike the other one, the large print that we've just looked at. And it's reasonably opaque. It's printed on fairly decent paper. It is a thinner India paper, but it performs pretty decent. I mean, we've got a clear bit of paper there, so obviously it is going to show through. But it's not too bad, and it does have a more sort of creamy texture to it, this paper. So yeah, the Clarion doesn't perform too badly in those stakes. Let's go to the Concord. The Concord reference, I love the paper in here. This is an India paper. Again, it's got that creaminess to it. Very smooth paper, and you can see probably from the text block here that this paper is really nicely opaque, considering its the lightness of its weight. And as we pass that sample under there, you can see that it's performing pretty well. Not too much of it is going through. Obviously the Sharpie is going to come through Bible paper, but other than that, it's pretty decent. It's not too bad at all. So I'm quite happy at that as a reading experience. I love reading from the Concord. It's very, very clear. Got a nice crisp typeface on this paper, so I'm a big fan of that, and I think that's because the more that you pay for, I mean this is a £85–90 Bible, I think, the more you're paying, you are getting that premium, that better quality paper stock. Here is the new Cambridge Paragraph Bible, which is about £100, this one, bound in calfskin. But this one I wasn't too impressed with the opacity on, to be honest. You can probably see that from the pages here, that the text on the other side is ghosting through quite heavily. And as we pass our paper, our card, our highly technical scientific card under there, you can see that that's probably the worst out of all the Bibles that we've looked at. If I put it in this beginning sheet, for example, where it's almost completely clear, that's not too favourable at all, really. So it was a bit disappointing to see that. I don't know if that's a different paper, but I'm not aware of all the technicalities with the Cambridge paper. This is the turquoise, an absolutely gorgeous, beautiful Bible. Big fan of it. This is their range topper in goat skin, and you can see straight away from the paper, well I can anyway, I hope this is coming through on the camera, that this is premium paper. This is really good paper. In fact, I think it has a note on the inside cover about the paper. It says paper supplied by Papeteries du Le Mans, which is in France, and it's printed in Netherlands by Royal Youngblood. So there's a lot of cost gone into this Bible, as I've just ruined the corner of the pages there, and it does show. It's a very crisp, clear, legible font anyway, and it's pretty opaque to start with. So I was pretty sure that even despite the thinness of this paper, it was going to perform pretty well. And as you can see from that example, it does. There's not too much coming through that thin paper at all. You can make out something going on, but it's pretty decent. So yeah, I was quite impressed with that. That just goes to show you, I suppose, you do get what you pay for in some aspects with Bibles, with a couple of minor exceptions that we looked at earlier. And of course, no look at Opacity would be complete without looking at the Concord wide margin, which is a Bible that's made for marking. It is printed on thicker Bible paper. It has beautifully clear Concord typeface, as you can see. It is line matched as well, and you can probably make out that it's going to perform pretty well in the Opacity stakes, because you can't really see too much coming through. Obviously you are going to see some ghosting because it is thin paper and you have to print on it, so you are going to get some, but I think when we put it under there you can see that that's not performing too badly at all. But perhaps it is indicative, because there is a bit of ghosting coming through there, that, you know, it's not about thickness all the time with paper. I mean, yes, obviously if you put 60 GSM stuff in here, if I get my Oxford wide margin, for example, that is on really thick paper, you're not going to see a lot coming through. But it does go to show you that, you know, opacity isn't just about making the paper nice and thick. This is a bit thicker than the turquoise paper for sure, but it's perhaps performing as well in the opacity stakes. So that's just something to be aware of. All I would say is, you know, if that issue is going to be important to you, then get yourself a technical scientific card like this, and if you can get your hands on a sample Bible, you know, just pass it under and see how it's performing, or just get a look at the text block even and see if there's any ghosting, if there's serious ghosting issues that's going to make reading this text difficult for you. Then, you know, be aware of it, get a look at it beforehand. Obviously I keep every King James Version Cambridge on my shelf for that very purpose, so that when people come round, or they're interested, they want to see photos, or they want to, you know, refer to media, video clips and stuff like that, I can basically create something and show them how this Bible performs before they buy, so that when they do buy, they know what they're getting and they're confident that it's going to be right for them. So I guess that was just a quick look, but perhaps a bit rambling, looking at opacity. Hope you enjoyed looking at all those Bibles. It's interesting to see how their papers perform under this sort of scrutiny. So let me know what you think. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on another video soon. Okay, thanks, bye.